Thank you for joining today's Tech Talk. Today, we're going to discuss how to accelerate speed to insights with a strong data analytics foundation. I have our host, Justin Rice, Chief Product and Technology Officer, along with Justin Grieshop, Senior Director of AI and Analytics. Justin's, take it away.
Okay, thank you, Lance. And Justin, welcome today. Thank you for being here. Super excited to talk about data analytics services today.
One of my favorite topics.
One of your favorite topics, no doubt. It's interesting, as CBTS, as we've evolved into, a very well-rounded services provider for our customers, we kind of jumped 2 feet into the water with data analytics. Really your vision of where you've seen AI really start to mature and the importance of data through that journey. I would love to just talk to you today a little bit about data analytics, the services we offer, and really where you see the market going. So why don't we start and just talk about, whenever I say data analytics services, what pops into your mind?
Well, I'd say the first word is acceleration, because really the bedrock of what every organization is operating on is information, right? How do I serve my customers better? How do I make more timely decisions? How do I get the right information to the right people at the right time to take the right action? Yeah. And the way to do that is with analytics. So everything inside of an organization is ultimately meant to support a customer. End of the day, we're all in the same business. We all serve customers. Analytics is such a solid core to every business strategy because it accelerates companies' abilities to service customers in increasingly intelligent ways. And when you set it up correctly, it's not a one-time, one-shot thing. It becomes a continuous feedback loop that really becomes the brain and the engine that helps transform not just how you service your business and service your customers, but ultimately how you transform into this next exciting era with AI.
Yeah. No, I think you're spot on. And, we've worked together for several years, and I've always known you as a very data-driven guy. And a lot of the work that you've done, even for us, as it relates to data analytics, has been incredibly helpful. But there's so much under the covers that I don't think I really fully appreciated what it takes to have a good data strategy, and really until I met you. So talk through a little bit about that as the foundations of a data strategy with data analytics.
Yeah, thanks. And that's very kind. It's very true that the world of analytics is broad, it's deep, and it can be very hard to navigate. There's thousands of data tools out in the market, and figuring out how to bring those together in a way that's comprehensive, cohesive, and ultimately serves your organization without bloating your budget. Those are difficult waters that a lot of organizations struggle with.
Yeah.
And so when you're thinking about analytics, it's one thing to say, I need to build a report. It's another to say, I need to build an engine, right? Yeah. A report is an answer to a question. A lot of people think of reports as a means to get to that answer, but really what you want is you want a continuous improvement engine at the heart of your business. And that starts with data engineering, right? Data engineering builds out the foundational pieces that all subsequent analytics are based on. And the more solid your foundation, the faster you're going to be able to go. So we emphasize getting your data foundation set correctly. Now, we were doing this before generative AI really took the stage. Yeah. This was a big part of how we service our business and service our customers. But this didn't become less important as generative AI took off. This became more important. Mm-hmm. What we've began to really understand is that the bedrock of data engineering doesn't just service analytics as we used to think about them. It's actually the fuel for AI. And it's exactly what we need in order to get prescriptive with AI to turn AI into ROI.
And I'm going to ask about the AI to ROI thing here in just a little bit. But it is interesting, to your point about it does start with proper data engineering. You have to engineer the data correctly to set the foundation for everything else that you want to do. And I think, it's been such an interesting evolution for CBTS to start offering these data services to our customers. And really, the reality is you did that for us, right? We've gone through that process and got some skin knees along the way. Here's what works, what didn't work. Here's what I would do better in the future. And that's, as someone who talks to a lot of customers, I know you do too, there's always been such an interesting story to tell is everybody's trying to figure out their data strategy. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows it has to be rock solid to implement AI, mm-hmm. but everybody, to your point, is getting hit up by every single software vendor out there who says they're going to fix their data strategy. Yep. When in reality, it takes a lot more agnostic governance rather than just a tool.
tooling is critical. It's important. You've got to get it right. So I say the next part with that as the foundation. But really, this is a business conversation, right? Your data strategy should be guided and driven by how you're servicing your customers. It needs to start with your business. And really, your data strategy is communicating between the business and IT. So there's a strong connection here that lays at that bedrock. And that's typically where a lot of organizations can struggle. But when there's so many options on what you can do, oftentimes it's hard to decide what to do. So we help our customers by guiding them not just on what tools and technologies that they could potentially embrace for their enterprise, but also how to think about these use cases in a way that truly aligns their data foundation to data outcomes. It's that piece. When you connect that piece, that's really when the engine starts, and that's when the acceleration can begin.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that a little bit. And I have on my screen here kind of the data analytics suite of services that we offer. And I think going through our process is we kind of go to the whiteboard and say, all right, in order for us to be relevant in providing these services to our customers, here's the things that were important to CBTS, and here's what we believe to be important to our customers. So I'm going to ask you to kind of bear with me here, but I want to ask you some questions on a few of these, but I am going to walk through the pillars first.
Yeah.
So in our suite of services, we have data strategy, we have data engineering,
yes,
we have data modernization, data visualization, which I love. I'm a visual person, right? Data management, and then finally AI readiness, which is a great pillar to add to these services. So, for data strategy, we think about road mapping and refinement for our customers. Whenever you sit in front of a client to talk through data strategy, what does that mean? When we talk about that as a suite of service for us, like explain that.
The most important thing for organizations, and this is what I really try to emphasize, is that it's easy to get caught and enamored by the possibility of analytics and AI, but really the biggest ROI is going to come from what you're doing today. Yeah. So look at the areas that you're succeeding today. Where is value being delivered to your customers today, right? Start there. I'm not saying you can't get into accelerated and advanced use cases, but focusing on what you know provides ROI to your business and value to your customers already is a fantastic place to start your data strategy, because you want to avoid the failure that a lot of organizations have seen over the last 2 years, especially. And I believe the most recent stat I heard was 91% of AI projects have failed to get into production. And the reason for that is because they're not focused on the core business drivers and the core business activities that are delivering value to customers. So as we're thinking about it, we're saying definitely plan for an advanced future, but start with what you know today and leverage analytics and AI to accelerate what you're already doing. That's going to get you on the path. It's going to deliver quick wins. It's going to get you to ROI quickly, and it's going to lay the bedrock for you to accelerate even faster moving forward.
Yeah, I like that. And for me, taking that like MVP, minimum viable product approach when you're implementing a data strategy, also get your wheels turning on, okay, what else is possible? Yeah. And so I love the idea of start with what you have, build for the future, sure, but don't over-engineer it to start.
Yeah.
Back to engineering, so data engineering. So for us, I know we do data lake implementations, we do some DevOps work, we do integrations and transformations. Expand on that for me. Like tell me a little bit more about our data engineering services.
Yeah, so we try to meet customers where they are, and every customer is coming from a different place. Some customers need advanced engineering where you'd be looking at streaming analytics. You have one set of requirements. Other customers don't even have a data foundation to work with. So we do everything from foundational build out of data sources to get you started to really advanced analytics for streaming and transformation that can help support really blended architectures and advanced use cases that can further be fed downstream into more sophisticated systems.
Yeah, I love that. That's such an important part of it. And by the way, for anybody that's watching, please put questions into the chat. We will try to answer them in real time. But next is really about data modernization. Now, we were at our sales kickoff earlier this year, and you presented to us the art of the possible with tools like Microsoft Fabric, for example, which really just blew my mind on how data modernization can really take shape to implement to the outcomes you mentioned, like tremendous outcomes for the future. So talk to me a little bit about our data modernization services. What do we do there?
Yeah, so we support our customers not just through that foundational layer, but really transforming that data into tangible assets that they can leverage for advanced use cases. So everything from building out the data source foundation to making sure that that information is curated so that tools like Copilot Studio or just your agentic workflows can leverage them for increasingly sophisticated use cases. What we find to be true almost 100% consistently is that the real value in analytics and AI isn't generally coming from one system. It's coming from multiple systems. It's blending that data, curating it for intentional use cases, and then unlocking that for your organization, giving them access to richer information that is sometimes hidden in the systems that support the business.
Well, it's so interesting because to your point, in the next pillar is actual data visualization. It's so easy, myself included, to think visualization is like the process and the result, right? Like, oh, I just want to see data, but it requires better data engineering. It requires data modernization. It requires all these things we're talking about in order for the visuals to mean anything to you. When we talk about data visualization, you're thinking about things like business intelligence, data analysis, KPI development, enterprise reporting, data storytelling, which I know you're really big at. Like, what's the story that the data tells? But it seems like it's easy, and maybe this is just my misconception or perception of the industry. It's easy to think that data visualization is just like such an easy thing to do, but unless you have the other key areas of focus, engineering, modernization, et cetera, it doesn't matter.
Data visualization is an art. Don't mistake anything I say. It's an art, and it's tough to do well. And when it's right, it's great. But it's just one piece of the equation. And really, it's getting the rest of those pieces in order ahead of time really makes the difference. And this is where we see a lot of customers struggling. It's, I need a report actually may mean I need a data foundation. I need a transformation strategy.
Right.
I need everything that comes in before that. And so once you've got that foundation in place, that's really why we emphasize it so firmly, because once you've got that in place, the visualization, you can unlock a lot of capabilities, whether that be metric development, developing dashboards, et cetera. You can unlock a lot of that with that foundation. But yeah, a lot of people prefer to consume information in reports. Some prefer to consume it in dashboards. Really, at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is make sure that the right people get the right information at the right time to drive the right outcome. That's what matters. And we're using visualization as well as generative AI to do it.
Yeah. You just said something that was so key is organizations who maybe have an immature data strategy, literally a request of, I want a dashboard that shows me X may mean a whole lot more. It may mean you develop a strategy and the engineering, all those things. Before I go any further on the pillars, I am curious to just get your market perspective of talent available in the marketplace, data engineering talent, data architecture, all those things. Where's the market going with talent? Is it readily available? Are we short staffed? Like, how does the market look for data talent?
The challenge that a lot of hiring managers run into is that there has been a flood of candidates who have taken, we'll say, short courses that they feel prepare them for six-figure salaries. Right. And candidly, there's a lot of candidates who really aren't qualified for this type of work. And it's hard to navigate that, especially if it's not an area that you've got a lot of experience in. It takes a lot to understand, what is the real caliber of talent that I'm looking at. When you look at the tools that are coming out to kind of fudge interviews these days, where you've got AI actually answering questions, this becomes especially difficult to sniff out. It's something we've dealt with. Without exaggeration, I've got roles on my team where we have interviewed over 100 candidates in order to get the right people in. I hope that no one else is experiencing that level of filtering, but it's a very real challenge. And so when you find the right talent and you've got the right people in place, it is the difference between going 10 miles an hour and going 1,000 miles an hour. We put a heavy emphasis on making sure that we've got the right talent in the door because it makes the difference. But if you're hiring, it's very difficult to find the solid people, especially in data engineering and data architecture.
Yeah, it's almost like, and I've seen it with data, I've seen it with a number of different roles, certainly with AI too. You kind of get this because short courses or AI's made it very easy to consume information, and the Dunning-Kruger effect. Like you basically believe you're an expert, right?
Very real.
And it's very, very real. I've seen the same thing with AI, and I was talking to a guy the other day, and I'm like, it was an interview, and it was very clear that like he just over AI'd his interview, and there was not a lot of depth to it. And I think that's a real challenge for the marketplace, and I'm glad to hear that you say that No, I'm putting these people through a process, and I'm interviewing a ton of candidates because we want the best in breed to come in into our organization, and all the surface level stuff. It's unfortunate we're there, but it does require a lot of due diligence in the hiring process.
Absolutely. It's absolutely the case.
Well, we have two pillars left to kind of talk through, one of which is data management, and we'll get to AI readiness. Data management. Tell me a little bit about that. So you've got the strategy, you've got the engineering, the architecture, the visualization. Talk to me about data management.
This is a piece where data becomes a little bit heavier, but also much more meaningful. So it's one thing to have an environment, it's another to have use cases, but you really have to make sure that your organization is ready to embrace the processes that drive outcomes, right? So having your data strategy aligned to metrics and OKRs and KPIs is fantastic, but you also need to ensure that the processes that are guiding those metrics is informed and in getting the right information into the hands of the right people. Data management becomes a very governance-based conversation pretty quickly. It doesn't mean it has to be overly heavy. It doesn't mean it has to be overly expensive, but data management becomes a foundational piece of how you make sure that your services that you're offering to your internal customers or your external customers are secure, they're governed, and they're focused on the outcomes that matter most to your business, because you're going to have a lot of data, but you need to be focusing on the areas that really move the needle for your company.
I like that because it does, that blends very closely to the AI readiness. You know, you and I sit with customers very frequently, and the conversation 8 times out of 10 goes to, well, hold on, what's your data management strategy? Do you have the right governance in place? Do you have a data strategy before you can be even ready for AI? And I haven't been as close to it clearly as you have over the years. Not surprised, but it became very clear to me that a lot of people need help in this area to be AI ready.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this is going to become increasingly important. Data management is getting more and more sophisticated. I won't go too far out here, but just to give you a little bit of lens of where this is really heading in the next couple of years, you're going to have AI systems deciding whether or not someone should have access to certain data sets at a given point in time, right? It's going to be very secured. It's going to be very intentional, and you're going to need policies that help your organization navigate that so that you're not overexposing data, but you're not underexposing it either, because again, you need people to have the right information. The question becomes, well, what is that right information and how do I do that effectively? It's a little bit more of a nuance.
It's so interesting because, like, coming even from like an infrastructure conversation, you know, we talk about zero trust network access, and the whole concept of zero trust is like, geez, that actually exists on the data side.
Absolutely.
As well. Well, good. So, you know, when we talk about AI readiness, I want you to dive into that a little bit further. What does AI readiness mean as a service offer from CBTS?
AI readiness is really about use case alignment. So everything we've talked about is the foundation to AI readiness. You know, organizations, and going back to what we talked about with so many projects failing, it's not that organizations aren't ready to try, it's that they're not really ready to go, right? Getting that data foundation in place, making sure that your use cases are aligned, not just the goals of the organization, but the capabilities of the technology, making sure that you have the right talent in place, making sure that you have the right model in place, the right data management model in place. Everything we've just talked about is setting the stage for AI readiness. And once you have that in place, you can begin to build out a true AI engine. That comes with an AI COE, so building out your center of excellence and ensuring that you're not just building a one-time POC, but you're truly integrating transformational AI technology into how you're operating on a day-to-day basis. This should accelerate everything you're doing. You know, I firmly believe that over the course of the next couple of years, we're going to see a fundamental transformation of how enterprises are operating. And our goal with our customers is to make sure that not only is that foundation in place, but the strategies in place so that they're really ready to succeed.
Yeah, they're prepared, right?
Absolutely.
Because the reality is, I mean, this becomes a competitive differentiator. You can operate your business on a superpower before your competitors. And are you ready with your data? Are you ready for AI to help you boost your business? Because it will be a competitive differentiator.
Well, and just to call it out, I think there's a bit of AI fatigue going on right now.
For sure.
Right? A lot of AI fatigue because organizations have tried, and there's a lot of overpromising, a lot of under-delivering in the market, unfortunately. We're really focused here on making sure that we're approaching grounded AI, almost, I don't say anti-hype, but we're really focused on the use cases that matter, that we believe firmly move the needle on ROI for our customers. And getting to that outcome can be the difference between accelerating and succeeding in the market over the course of the next couple of years and getting left behind. It really is that serious.
As an endurance athlete, for me, like training, I have to have a big endurance base, big endurance foundation before I could do any of the high intensity work, right? I have to build this foundation. I couldn't do anything else. If I'm a basketball player, I have to have fundamental skill sets before I can go play in a game, right? And you can make every analogy in the book. Data is no different. You have to have a foundation, a strategy. To implement AI, that has to be your first step.
Absolutely. The quality of your information will drive the quality of your decisions. The quality of your decisions will drive the quality of your outcomes, and the quality of your outcomes will ultimately drive your results. It all comes together.
Yeah. Well, we have a couple minutes left. I would love to get your perspective on where's the data industry going. If you woke up, fell asleep today, you woke up 5 years from now. Hopefully that doesn't happen. What do you think the data engineering landscape looks like?
Data engineering or data analytics general?
In general, data analytics, engineering.
We're going to see commoditization on both ends of the spectrum. So specialization is going to simultaneously accelerate in some ways on the AI front, but we're also going to be able to do a lot more with AI than we would have ever historically been able to do with normal methods. So for instance, part of our data strategy was to move into Microsoft Fabric. And we were able to do in a period of about 3.5 months what had taken us a year and a half before. It was a monumental effort prior, and it was a big effort to get to hit that timeline. But we were able to do it with modern tooling, and I expect that is going to continue to accelerate. In the coming years, though, more and more people are going to have ready access to high quality information, and you want that.
Oh, yeah.
You want people in your organization to have the data they need. The problem is that it's required such a degree of specialization that if you weren't effectively a data expert, you really couldn't even get to those foundational information sets. And that's why this matters so much, because once the technology catches up to the place where everyone in your enterprise can ask a question and get the right answer and do it like that, that's the moment things are going to really change. And you don't want to be behind on that data, having that data foundation in place when your competition picks that up.
Well, I'll tell you, and as a Microsoft consumer, you use Microsoft Copilot, using the visualization agent within there, like the fact that you've moved us to Fabric, you've got all the data foundations there, I can use that visualization agent pretty reliably.
Yeah.
And it is, to your point about how long it took you to do it, 3 months compared to a year or 18 months, what it was going to take in the past. I think everything is going to go that way. Is you have the right foundation, your time to make decisions, your time to get the data is way faster. So listen, we are about out of time here. Justin, thank you so much for taking the time today. Any parting thoughts for the audience?
It's an exciting period ahead. I think the organizations who are moving forward in this area fast now are going to be the ones that are looking back in a few years and being very thankful about the decisions they're making. I know there's a lot of fatigue in the market right now. It's not the time to rest. It's the time to move. It's the time to get things in place because competition isn't waiting. And what we're seeing in the market is an increasing uptick in acceleration. I don't expect that to slow down.
Yeah. Well, I love that. Well, as always, Justin, thank you for being here. Lance, thank you for producing, and everybody for tuning in. And until next time, thank you very much.